Welcome to the newest episode of Saved by the Books, where two ladies with opposite reading tastes discuss all things reading.
Hey guys, what's up? And welcome back to another episode of Saved by the Books. Paige and Becky are back for more bookish discussions. Last week we did a discussion about our very first group read, which was What Alice Forgot by Leanne Moriarty. So if you haven't already listened to that episode, go listen, unless you haven't read the book, in which case read the book first and then go listen.
Right, because it's all spoiler.
Yeah, it's
filled.
Spoiler filled.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then I also wanted to go ahead and mention again that for June our group read is going to be The 1000th Floor by Katherine McGee. We have a Goodreads group that I will leave linked down below, or actually if you guys are listening to this on iTunes, I'll link it on Instagram or whatever. Yeah. We'll link it places, okay? But yeah, so definitely go join the Goodreads group so we can all chat about this book. This week, we are gonna talk about adaptations, and adaptations that we liked, adaptations that we didn't like,
yeah,
and all the stuff in between. So
this is talking about books to movies and
yeah,
all that stuff. So now, my preference is I always try to read the book before the movie or TV show. What's your preference?
Same, usually. I'm trying to think. I did not, okay, so I watched The Vampire Diaries without reading the book.
Same, because I also didn't know, but I also never finished The Vampire Diaries.
I loved The Vampire Diaries, and I loved the originals, and I really like Legacies, which is kind of the sequel. I have read the first 3 books of The Vampire Diaries, and the TV show is way better.
Okay,
so
I just thought of one that I read. It's like one of my first ones. Did you ever read The Gossip Girls?
No.
See, I have that whole series, and I've read all that. Now,
and I've watched them all twice. That's why I have a dislike relationship with Ben Beckley. Or Badgley, I don't even know, but I don't like him.
Right. XOXO. Gossip Girl. Sorry. That's another discussion for another day maybe. But
yeah.
I don't actually remember, but I remember I read, I think I may have started watching the TV show first, but I remember reading those at my grandparents' house one summer.
I never finished Pretty Little Liars, but I never read those books.
I never watched or read them. Now, Princess Diaries. I read all of those.
them and watched them. I don't remember which came first. It's been too long.
See, for me, I read the books first and multiple times, and then I've watched the movies a billion times. Now, the first one I thought was fine because it was just supposed to end with the first one. It wasn't the greatest, I think, adaptation, but I mean, I think they did a good job getting the point across when you read the books. Now the other ones, I'm just like, no, I don't.
See, okay, yeah, I think I loved the first movie and I loved the first book, but after I stopped reading after the third book because I was just like, okay, I get it. Like, I don't know, but I feel like that when I was reading them, that's all there was as well. So like by the time the next one came out, like I was on to something else. But yeah, I guess I actually do watch a lot of adaptations without reading the books.
Well, I was gonna say Game of Thrones because you haven't read the books.
Yeah, I have not read the books. I don't plan to read the books.
She probably doesn't plan to do anything ever again with Game of Thrones. Which,
if you guys watched season 8, okay, you
can't judge the whole thing by season 8.
Okay, so I've been
spoilers just in case.
I've been saying since we started this podcast that I would rant about Game of Thrones one day. So I don't know if I'm ready to unleash it all, but I just want to say I was rooting for season 8, you guys. Like episode 1, especially I think because I've been working on writing my own novel, so I've been trying to pay really close attention to like pacing and like different major events that happen and how people set up stories. So I I was rooting for season 8 with the first episode. I was like, okay, this is good. This is all set up. This is like really great because it's like kind of like getting you back in the characters' heads. It's everybody kind of having a reunion, and it's heartwarming, and it's great. And then
the pacing happened, which means they just sprinted to the finish.
Yeah.
And there was no real nice little ending that we were hoping for.
So I know that George R.R. Martin gave input to what the ending was going to be. I feel like they probably did use that ending. I just think that they didn't do it very well.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, the writers didn't want to write more episodes. Like, I think there was a push for season 7 and 8 to have 10 episodes each, and the writers didn't want to do that.
Why though? I know there was like a money issue or something. But the thing is, I was like, but that whole money excuse never really made sense to me, because I'm like, Game of Thrones is literally one of the biggest shows ever. And I know that it's expensive to do, don't get me wrong, because I mean, just the sets alone, like, oh my god. And like the CGI and the costumes and just everything that goes into that show. I mean, I get that it's super expensive, but I'm just like, surely, I don't know. It was just, I don't know.
Well, and see, I read all but the last published book, and the first 2 books pretty much go along with the first few seasons, and then like part of book 2 it starts separating. And I really did like the books. I'm going to read the books again. I feel like, give it some time, because of season 8 just ruined me. But I think they did a good job of like bringing fantasy to like the mass public, you know, like,
oh, I agree.
I like, same thing with like Harry Potter, got tons of people into that genre, which wasn't a popular genre at the time, and then I got so many kids reading and wanting. And so even this, like, I know some people now are like, oh, I gotta read those books, like I gotta see what it's about. And so it's opened a door for a lot of those writers and creators of that type of stuff. And like for me, it's opened the door to fantasy, like, because I'm not one that would ever usually pick up that type of stuff.
You just realized fantasy is literally a contemporary, but throw in some
like
medieval world. That's all it is.
Right. So, but I thought they did a pretty good job up until season 8 for when it came to an adaptation. I know, buddy. Sorry, EXO's being my friend today. EXO
is being hyper today, and he just wants to get into everything. So yeah, sorry.
Okay, what about some Netflix adaptations?
Okay, so I just want to say also, I really love the fact that adaptations, I feel like we've kind of come full circle in a way with adaptations, but I feel like we had a few really rough years with adaptations, i.e. Twilight, Hunger Games, Divergent. And not that they were all bad, but I think that we had, because of Harry Potter splitting the last one into 2 parts, it created this trend because they realized they could make more money. And as a result, I feel like adaptations as a whole were weakened. But I feel like we're kind of like
coming back.
Yeah, we're
like,
I
back. Truly think,
which Game of Thrones totally ruined, but you know, whatever.
Well, I think like Netflix and HBO and like even like Amazon, they've done a really good job with adaptations. Like one adaptation, which I have not read the book yet, it's on my shelf, The Handmaid's Tale. So I know there's a lot of like people have said it's different or whatever, but I truly like seeing that world. I mean, I thought they did an amazing job.
Right.
So, or just like Dumpling on Netflix. I enjoyed the movie. I did not like the book. I feel like, I don't know, the relationship in that like between the mom and daughter, like I thought it portrayed it a lot better. And I don't know.
Well, that's because Jennifer Aniston was in the movie, so
probably it's because the mom was
like,
Jennifer Aniston. But
for me, those type of thing, like that type of book, is good to be a movie because I don't tend to reach for contemporary. but I will like put on a comedy while I'm like doing chores or, you know, whatever. So I don't know, like I probably wouldn't consume that story any other way.
Yeah.
Unless but if I've read, but in that instance, like if I watch the movie, I might actually pick up the book.
Like, I think one of the best adaptations I've seen is The Help. That was a really good book, but I mean, they did an amazing job with the movie, and it was probably the one I felt was the closest to the book. It stuck and got that same point across, so I thought that was a really good one. And then, I don't know, like, To All the Boys I've Loved Before on Netflix. Like, I like that movie. Now, the series, I don't know how I'm gonna like the other two, because, like, I basically DNF'd the last book. I'm gonna attempt to read it this summer, but, I don't know. But I feel like, and this is as a teacher, a lot of my students, they'll watch the movies on Netflix all the time, or on Amazon, and I'm like, hey, it's a book, and they're like, oh really? Like 5 Feet Apart, they saw me reading that, and they're like, wait a second, isn't that a movie? Yes, but I said the book is really good. So I feel like in that group of people, that does a really good job, and like that's what Harry Potter did, you know. And so now we have even the Twilight Mania and stuff, it got kids reading. And so, and I feel like my side of things is, I'm always like, hey, if it gets kids reading, I'm totally down with that. But like some of the adult stuff, like I feel like HBO and Amazon have done a really good job with those adaptations. Like Big Little Lies, I really did think that was a good,
and that had a good cast.
But I still, and I think that's the thing is what's powerful. And now with Shonda coming over to Netflix, I feel like from ABC, like I feel like some of these that are about to hit are going to be really good. And I feel like a lot of stuff, like Reese Witherspoon, her book club and her connections have produced, I mean, she's coming out with a lot of things, because I think, isn't she doing Little Fires Everywhere?
I think so.
Yeah, and so like a lot of her book club ones are being turned into that. And I think having like that type of creative power and the influence and the connections that they have, like it's gonna, I feel like these newer adaptations are gonna be really good.
Yeah.
Unlike before, like, Twilight and all that, where, you know, sparkly vampires, think Stephanie Myers, but
that poor woman, I feel like we've talked about it before, but like I feel kind of bad for her, because we rip on her, like as a population, as a society, we just rip on that woman.
I'm sorry, you don't have vampires that sparkle. Like,
but I mean, at least she went out there and was different, you know? Like, I don't know. I don't know either. I reread Twilight in January. And the whole time I was trying to put myself in my 17-year-old self's mindset, and I see why I liked it. So, I mean, I'm not going to keep hating on it. I'm good. Whatever. But I just had a thought about another adaptation, and now I can't remember what it was. But, I honestly, my whole thing, like, I get, and I'm, like, rooting for the whole influence, and, like, we're getting kids reading, whatever. I just like to see my worlds come alive.
Yeah.
Like Harry Potter, for instance, and I don't even know what else, but like all of the like Philippa Gregory on Stars. So we have White Queen, White Princess, and the Spanish Princess, which is coming out now. And these are kind of like, they're mini series, so it's all of them are like 10 episodes or less. So there's no way they get all the detail in. It's just not possible. But I love seeing it come to life. And I have rewatched those shows so many times just because the books are pretty dense. And so I'm not gonna like pick them up and reread them all the time, but like I could put on the show and just kind of like be transported into that world again.
Well, that makes sense. And a lot of times for me, I want to see, what I pictured the characters as, is that what is kind of being portrayed. And I also keep it like separate. Like most of the time I'm like, okay, the book and the movie, they're two completely separate entities. Like I'm not going to nitpick the movie because it didn't follow along. Like Crazy Rich Asians, I really enjoyed the book. It had tons of history in it. The movie obviously did not, but I feel like the movie got its point across and reached this, brought Asian culture to the masses, and I thought it did a really good job. And
Yeah.
and like the book, like the historical stuff in it, I loved. And obviously that didn't need to go into that type of movie,
Right.
and
yeah, because it was basically like a romantic comedy.
It was,
essentially,
yeah.
right?
with family drama in it.
Yeah.
And so it didn't need some of the stuff in it, because then it wouldn't have reached,
Right.
no one would have gone to go see it, I
Right.
feel like. And so like, and I know some people, I'll be like, yeah, I really enjoyed Crazy Rich Asians, the book, and then I'm like, but you may not, just because I know it's not that lighthearted like rom-com that many people think it is. Like,
Right.
there's a lot of deeper issues, and a lot of, it's more about the family dynamics and expectations in the culture, and revealing things about the culture, which I did love, because I'm all about learning. I mean, my minor was in cultural geography in college, so I'm all about learning about all the different things. But
I'm looking to see if I can think of any other adaptations right now.
well, and I will say, like, watching Game of Thrones, like, it helped me while reading the books, because there's so many different names, just like watching all, you know, the White Queen and White Princess.
See, and
there's so many names.
yeah, and I feel like honestly with Game of Thrones, for all 8 seasons, all of them, I would literally look at Cody and be like, which old white guy is this? Because I don't remember, because they all look the same. And they're all doing the same thing, just from a different angle. But like with White Queen and all that, it helped to, now if I like am reading the book, I can kind of like picture that actor in my head and like kind of keep them straight.
Well,
one adaptation that followed very closely to the book is Victoria.
and see, and I haven't read that book yet.
But okay, so Victoria was written by Daisy Goodwin, and she's also the screenwriter for Victoria.
Okay.
So I mean,
That
like,
helps.
she essentially like adapted her book to the show. Honestly, I would say either do one or the other, because I was bored reading the book just because I had seen the show already, and honestly, I feel like the show is not very action-packed anyway.
No, it's not.
It's very like, this is the history, and her life is really, really interesting, don't get me wrong. But yeah, it's just not an action-packed and like entertaining show. It's more of like an educational type of show, and so is the book. So I would say that, I don't know, in a way, I kind of feel like that adaptation is a miss, in a way.
I was gonna say, like, what other adaptations do you think could have been a miss coming to film?
Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire. I don't really know. I just don't like him. I love the new Spider-Man, you guys. He is my Spider-Man, okay? He's mine.
Like, I'm trying to think
I know, it's so hard to think of.
which ones didn't work out, whether it was, like you said, whether it was the book or the movie or TV show.
I'm just scrolling Goodreads. I don't really see anything. I mean, I feel like it's a universal acceptance that Twilight was kind of a miss.
What are your feelings on the Harry Potter adaptation?
I feel like the movies did a really good job of showing Harry growing up. Like, the first 2 movies, the mood and the tone of them are complete opposites of the last 2.
Right.
I think that if they were going to split the 7th movie into 2 parts, they could have just made them a little bit longer and included more detail. I don't know. There were a few other things that I kind
Like,
of
I know, I remember, like, I kind of wish they included more about, like, Neville's parents. Like, what happened to them. Because I felt like that was a key part in the whole prophecy.
I feel like they were kind of a miss in that, okay, so my mom has never read Harry Potter, but I would be watching the movies, and of course I know everything that's going on because I've read the books, but like, she had no clue what was going on. She's like, I don't understand anything that is happening right now, and like, why are they here? I think we were watching like the 3rd one, and she was like, just like, what is all of this? And I'm just like, I mean, I'm sorry, Mom, you're just gonna have to read the books. I don't know. So I feel like it was kind of a miss in that, just because I feel like in a way it kind of catered to the already existing audience. But I feel like it did draw in other people too. Like, I mean, admittedly, fantasy is just not my mom's thing. So, I mean.
Well, and I feel like that's kind of with Fantastic Beasts. I feel like it's meant for the people that grew up with Harry Potter. But I feel like there's so much in that world, it's not explained necessarily in the movies, that if you didn't know the background, you wouldn't understand.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be interesting to you. So I think they missed the mark on that.
Yeah.
When it comes to Fantastic Beasts. Because I believe it truly is for that generation that grew up with Harry Potter.
Yeah,
like
I mean, and even Cody, like, he's watched both of them, and I mean, he likes them fine, but they're not like his favorite
and see, they
thing ever.
My favorite. The second one I liked a lot more.
I think the screenplay. I think selling the screenplay is a straight money grab.
Yeah.
And I'm not buying them. I bought the first one and then I've since unhauled it because I was like, you know what? I am tired of buying all of these new editions of Harry Potter and all of these screenplays. So yeah, but another one, Shadowhunters.
Okay, I actually watched all but the last season, I think.
Yeah.
And I got used to it after Clary, like I feel like she learned to act. And so
I feel like they definitely, as like a cast, they grew a lot as actors, for sure.
Well, and I feel like that's kind of the same thing with Twilight. Yeah. But like the books, I still haven't finished. So, because I only like Magnus as of now.
I like the TV show.
I mean, I thought it was really good.
I like the TV show. I mean, it's a teenage dramatic show. Mm-hmm. So like, if it's kind of like, I mean, I know it wasn't on CW, but it's like a CW show, and so it's like just dramatic.
Technically, one of the CW, like
it was on Freeform.
Oh, okay. Because I was trying to think of, you know, they change their names every few years, so but it does fit in that. But category.
Yeah, I mean, Cody would like come downstairs and he'd be like, "Really, you're watching this again?" And I'm like, "Yes, I am. Leave me alone. It's my guilty pleasure, okay?" But yeah, I feel like they did a pretty good job with it. I don't know. I feel like, I know it has like a lot of critics, but I liked it for what it was. I thought it was a pretty decent show. Have you read Outlander? And have you watched the show?
I read the first 2 books out of that, and I listened to the second one on audio. And so that's when I was training for my first like half marathon. I would listen to it, and so I would get lost in the world. And so I'd have to remind myself, I'm running on a random street at night. I need to actually pay attention to my surroundings. But so I did like them. And then I watched the first season of Outlander, and I haven't touched it since.
Same.
I got over it. Like, and I know because it was like the same stuff happening. I don't know. That's all I remember.
So I read the first 2.
Right.
It took me months to read the second one, you guys. Months.
Isn't that with all the herbology?
No, the first one was all of the herbs.
Yeah.
So many herbs. And I watched, I think I've ended up finishing like partway through the second one just because it was one of those shows I would just like put on. And then our subscription ran out and I haven't watched it. And I don't miss it very much. But
I was really excited about it. But like, I think at the same time it was like the Downton Abbey stuff. And I would watch Downton Abbey all day long because I love, I'm totally into that time period. And so, and I love Scottish history and all that, and so it amazed me. I did not get more into it.
I kind of struggled a little bit with it just because I read it the same year we were reading Philippa Gregory, and so it was like a jump from like the 1400s to when Outlander takes place in the, was it the 1800s? I
think the
17 or 1800s. So it was like, I was like trying to figure out how like this royal family relates to the royal family I was reading about in the Philippa Gregory books. But like once I figured that out, it was fine. I feel like they were really, really long, and it was unnecessary for them to be that long. The books, that is.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what book it reminds. Oh, it reminds me of like Mark Twain's writings. Like, I know with like Tom Sawyer and stuff, there's parts that you can just skip over because it's just plain description, like of the surroundings. Or one of the Brontes with the Moors, and I'm like, I know what a Moor is. I've been to one. I don't need a whole chapter or 2 chapters on Moors. And the fog.
Another adaptation I just thought of was Discovery of Witches, which I've only watched 1 episode of.
I've watched 0.
But I really love the books.
Love the books.
Yeah, love the books. Have reread them at least 3 times. I know you haven't, but I have.
But I've also recommended, some of my friends, colleagues at work are reading them, and they love it, and they were mad at me. They're like, because they saw a preview or something for the TV show, and they're like, hey. I was like, yeah, I've read that book. They're like, why didn't you tell me? I was like, Well, you've been busy.
Well, if you ever have like a night where y'all are just gonna discuss this book, I need to come.
Okay.
So yeah,
Sounds
because
good.
yeah, I love the book. I am still optimistic about the adaptation. I need to watch it. But there were some things like right off the bat that they weren't following the book, and I was kind of like, no. But I don't know. I feel like it might make it for a more interesting story. It kind of seemed like they were pulling stuff from like all of the books to make it more entertaining.
Right.
So I mean, I don't know. I could be way off base.
I know you haven't read it yet, or I don't think you've watched it. Pride and Prejudice. That's my favorite.
It.
Have you?
Yeah.
The one with Keira Knightley. Have you watched the other one with Colin Firth?
Probably. I don't know.
Because it's the BBC miniseries.
Oh, no, I didn't. Well, I think it wasn't included in my Prime subscription or anything.
And, well, I have it, so you can watch it. But no, I feel like Pride and Prejudice is my, like, one, like, favorite classic ever. You know, I'm one of those typical people that just loves Pride and Prejudice and everything about it.
Okay, I've read retellings and I like it fine, but Mr. Darcy he pisses me off so much.
No, I love Mr. Darcy.
I mean, he's fine, but wait, is that the is that the guy?
Yeah.
Okay, then he irritates me. I'm sorry, but like if a man insults me, I'm not marrying him.
Well, he apologized.
Well, whatever.
Well, anyways, I thought both adaptations.
Which is hilarious. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm just laughing right now because literally if you guys heard me and Cody talk to each other for 10 minutes, it's like literally like sarcasm and insults.
It is.
And I love him for it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, that's
so
their whole relationship right there. I thought both of the books did really well. Or not both of the books. Both of the movies did a really good job. And then there's also been, and I totally love the Keira Knightley version, but of course Colin Firth as Mr. Darcy wins. But there's been a lot of like adaptations of that, like in different movies and stuff, and you know, different books. And so some I feel like they are hit and miss because some people are just going after the money. They know people like me will pick up and see it, hey, it's a Pride and Prejudice or dealing with Pride and Prejudice. So
yeah,
it's a money grab thing. Where others, they're done like really well.
Yeah.
So
an adaptation that I read the book and it completely put me off on reading on watching the show, The Magicians.
I haven't read it either, but I remember I bought the books. And then she told me I hated, really hated
the first one. Oh my god.
Well, we started watching the first episode and it wasn't very good.
Though to be fair, yeah, we did. To be fair, I wasn't a huge fan of Chronicles of Narnia. And it draws a lot from Chronicles of Narnia. But also, that book is what depression feels like. Like, literally, I almost had like a relapse because of that book. It was just not good. I did not enjoy it. But I know so many people love it. Yeah. So I keep seeing it on social media and like people will mention it. And I'm like, what did I miss?
Well, that's how we felt in like with The Book Thief.
Yeah, that's true. Is that does that have an edit?
Yeah, it has a movie. I haven't seen it yet, but I know it's supposed to be really good.
Another one that's like World War II that made me cry, The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. I know it's not a true story. I realize that, but it still made me cry. And I have not read the book because it made me cry. But, you know.
It's just like, oh, what are some of the other ones?
You know what should have had an adaptation?
What?
Sweet Valley High. Did they at some point? I feel like there were rumors of like a TV show.
Okay, what about Babysitter's Club?
I watched every bit of those. Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants.
I love, that was such a good one.
Oh my gosh.
We're doing we've done a complete flashback to our
my childhood
memories.
So I just posted a May wrap up. I think it's already up on my channel. So go watch it because I talk about all of the movies that Cody and I watched in May. We watched basically like all of the nostalgic movies. We watched Jurassic Park, The Mummy, Jumanji, Men in Black. I can't even remember all the other ones, but basically if it was like a movie from the 90s, and especially if it had like a sequel or like a reboot now, we watched it. And then plus Becky and I went to the library book sale and we got
everything.
All the Babysitter's Club.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
All the Sweet Valley High and all of the Fear Street, and it was amazing. And yeah. But yeah, Sweet Valley High, like I would watch that now. Like if they came out with a show tomorrow, like that would be like my new Gilmore Girls.
Yeah.
Like for sure.
Right. So speaking of some of the movies you said, Jurassic Park, Jumanji, those are both books.
I was thinking that they were, but I have not read the book.
I know my brother read all the series, the Jurassic Park, a few years ago, and he loved them. And then Jumanji's a children's book, so they took it from that, and so I thought they did a good job with that.
Another one, Shutter Island. That's a book.
And I haven't watched that.
Oh man.
No. Because isn't that the scary stuff? I don't do scary stuff.
It's not scary.
Or suspenseful. I do not do that.
Suspenseful.
Nope.
Oh,
give me the happy rom-coms. Or I guess now Game of Thrones. So dark fantasy, and I'm good.
I would love for Mistborn to be adapted.
See, that's on my shelf to read.
It is really, really good by Brandon Sanderson. If you haven't read it, you should. She should. Especially since you like Game of Thrones. I would love for those to be adapted. I'm just like literally scrolling my Goodreads trying to like see some adaptations, and every so often I'll like run across one. I'm like, I want that to be adapted.
The daughter of a
pirate. That would be really cool because I feel like it could be like a new Pirates of the Caribbean.
Right, well,
which I was always shocked that there's not books for pirates.
Right.
Because I love, like, the first 3 are amazing. And I know it's based off the ride. But yeah, I was always like surprised nobody's ever written a book.
But yeah, I feel like Daughter of a Pirate King would be really, whether it was like Netflix or like an actual, like I could see it doing a TV show to get some of the little adventures they do on.
I would love for Falling Kingdoms to be adapted.
I still haven't read that. I know.
If you have ever, like if you guys watch my channel, every time I mention Falling Kingdoms, I say that it's reading a CW show, and that's why I want it to be adapted, because it would be great. Every Heart a Doorway would be really cool to be adapted.
Yeah.
Because, or the Wayward Children series, because there's so many like just different worlds, and then they all kind of meet in like our world, and so I feel like that would be like a really cool like mini series.
Well, I know New Amsterdam, which is that new show, that was based off of a book, so that's about the doctor's experience with like so many patients that they saw in like random cases. So I got the book for my brother for Christmas, and I know he enjoyed it. But I haven't seen the movie. Okay, so Paper Princess. That's what I was thinking. But I was just like, that would be a good CW show. It would be a good CW show. It really would. Oh man, I just reread the first 3 of those, and I'll probably be rereading them next. Those are really good. The Afterlife of Holly Chase would be an amazing Christmas movie. Like I would watch it every year. Oh, well, speaking of Christmas, the Debbie McComber Christmas ones that end up being Hallmark, I think those are really pretty good. Like if you go in expecting it to be the cheesy Hallmark, you know, movie, you're totally fine. Because I will typically pick up some, like, because we'll always do like a readathon or something around Christmas, and I will always try. Recently been picking up those books. Hunting Prince Dracula, that series, or not Hunting Prince Dracula, Stalking Jack the Ripper, and then I think Hunting Prince Dracula is the sequel. That would be a really cool TV show. I feel like I would enjoy it more in a TV show, because I like the books fine, they're just not my favorite, but like I can get into shows that are kind of like that. I don't know why, but whatever. Well, I'm currently reading Aurora's Rising. I think that would do, by Jay Kristoff, I think that would be a really good adaptation. Back when I used to write reviews. I've done better. But I think that one would be a really good one, because it's sci-fi and all futuristic and stuff. Just like I think The Renegades by Marissa Meyer would be a good one. Yeah, it would be a good, I feel like that would be a good CW show too, because I feel like it's a middle ground between The Incredibles and Marvel. Yeah. And so, I feel like that would be good. I'm trying to
Throne of Glass is supposed to be made into a TV show, I believe. And then A Court of Thorns and Roses is gonna be movies, I think.
I still need.
I might have that backwards. But I feel like those will be good too.
Well, like I'm excited about like the Bridgertons by Julia Quinn. That's supposed to be Netflix.
I was gonna say, I bet there's so many people out there that would love a Black Dagger Brotherhood show.
Oh, I bet, yeah.
And I feel like it would actually be kind of cool to see, like, I mean, honestly, you guys, if it's vampires, I will watch it.
Yeah.
Another one, True Blood is an adaptation for Charlaine Harris's books.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're called, like, the series is like the Suki Stackhouse Vampire Mysteries or something.
Yeah.
I read the books forever ago. I think I read the first 9, and then the show was coming out. The show diverges quite a bit from the books. It's almost like by the time you're reading like the 3rd or 4th book, you're not even reading the same series. But yeah, those were good. I liked the True Blood show up until the last couple of seasons. Why does HBO do that to me?
Because they rush it. I think the Lunar Chronicles would be good.
I was gonna say that one earlier.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Giver. Oh my gosh. Okay, how did I forget about this? So, okay. Everyone reads that book when they're in school, okay?
Except
they teach
for
it.
me.
Yeah, okay. Ignore you. The movie, oh my gosh, is like the worst adaptation I think we've ever seen out there. And I mean, it's all wrong. Like, it's nothing, and I just saw it because no.
I have scrolled so far that I've actually like reached the point where I entered in all of the Suki Stackhouse books.
That's funny.
And I totally didn't see them until
Bridget Jones, that was a decent one.
Looking for Alaska is gonna be a movie.
I still need to read that.
I think it'll be a good movie. 50 Shades. I totally just wanted to see her face.
Well then, okay, so I did finally break down and watch them this year. And I actually, I still have not read the actual book. I'm doing air quotes for those listening. Because I read it when it was a fan fiction. It was a Edward Bella fan fiction. So this is way before she got that thing published. I thought the movies weren't awful. Like, I didn't think. Now, I'm so glad it didn't include all the stuff that was actually in the books. But the movies, I didn't think were horrible. Now, would I pay money for those? No. No, I will not. Thank you, HBO, for free, you know. But,
yeah.
No. Like, am I ever going to read anything by her? No.
She really hates E.L. James.
No, I mean, I'm sorry. Like, just no.
So I guess that leads into my next thought, which is, does everything need to be adapted?
No.
And I feel like lately, especially, I've been hearing about so many adaptations, but I honestly don't hear about very many new original things.
Right, and I think that's what we're lacking.
Even like I will like get into watching something or whatever, and I'll be like, oh, this is really good. I'm surprised that they like I'm really excited that they came up with this and blah blah blah. And then I'll find out it was a book, and I was like,
or just like Disney right now remaking all the old movies. Like, I saw Aladdin, and it was really good.
Which I have heard is a way to like renew the copyright.
Oh, I believe it completely, because I know.
I don't know how true that is, but you know, whatever.
Well, and it's also to reintroduce those stories to the current generation of kids. So because they need someone to go to Disney World.
We just need the vault again. We need to have those commercials about how the vault's only open for 2 weeks, so you gotta go.
Yeah. So I got most of my collection.
I know, seriously, same. Like I would see like I don't even know, a Little Mermaid commercial, like it's gonna be out of the vault for like 2 weeks, and now I would see it so many times until eventually I was like, Mom, I have to see this movie.
Yeah.
So,
but I feel like, yeah, like I enjoyed Aladdin. I thought that was good. But now another adaptation we were talking about was the Percy Jackson. I think they did a really good job on the movies compared to the books.
Yeah. I don't know. Okay, so I feel like I hesitate to say that, I don't know. I feel like as much as I like adaptations, I agree that not everything needs to be an adaptation, but at the same time, I feel like some of it comes down to marketing. Because like as I was scrolling, I was like seeing like the perks of being a wallflower and it's kind of a funny story and things like that. And I'm like, did they really need adaptations? Maybe not, but also they're probably good teen movies, but also you don't hear much about them.
Right.
I don't know. I just have thoughts.
But like, see, those books not necessarily taught in the schools anymore, like those old classes. So now they're like creating like newer classics or whatever. Like we do teach The Giver, and now in our class we don't watch the movie because it's so bad. Now others do watch the movie and compare it and
also
talk about
like along that same vein, like I would have never read Peter Pan if I hadn't watched the Disney movie. Like,
yeah, and see, I read Peter Pan, it was about 5 years ago now, and I loved the book. Like, the sarcasm through that, like, I loved some of the stuff. And it's definitely a book you read as an adult.
Though, admittedly, it hasn't aged very well in certain politically correct ways.
And I think that, and another reason why, like, some adaptations don't work.
Yeah.
Because of that.
Yeah.
And I feel, and that's why, like, some people don't teach certain books in the schools. Like, we don't, you know, because it needs to be relevant to, like, current issues.
So are there any adaptations that you're looking forward to?
The Bridgertons. That's going to come out on Netflix. The Virgin River series that's coming out on Netflix. That one's by Robin Carr.
I'm looking forward to watching Discovery of Witches.
Yeah.
Another one that I just thought of is Bitten. It's on Netflix.
Oh, yeah.
We watched the show. There's 3 seasons. I'm really sad that it got canceled when it did because it was just getting good. There's also a ton of books. There's like 14 books.
Yeah.
But the show, like the books follow different characters around, whereas the show, like you constantly have like this ensemble cast. And I feel like that's one way that TV shows tend to do a little bit better, having an ensemble cast, because I feel like you can kind of like weave the stories together a little bit better, because you can kind of like just jump POVs, whereas so many books are more like, if you're following Allie in this book, like that's all you're gonna get. So yeah, I don't know, just a thought.
Or like Game of Thrones in the books, they switch between the characters' point of views each time. Yeah. And so like they do in the shows too. But no, like, I am excited to see like what they come up with, but I do want more original things. Like instead of falling back on a book that may have been written 10 years ago, or they're just publishing it because, you know, it's the hottest new book right now. Right. But then if they rush it and then it doesn't end up well. Right. So, I don't know.
All right. So, EXO just decided that it was time to bark. But yeah, anyway, yeah, I don't know if I have any other thoughts on adaptations. I know this episode was kind of all over the place, but you know, that's what we do best around here. Do you have any other thoughts?
No, but leave below what adaptations you like or dislike, or what you're excited for.
Or comment on Instagram, because we're gonna try to be better.
Yeah, we are. I'm off from school, so we're gonna kill it this summer. Yes.
Anyway, that's pretty much it for this episode. Next week, we should be back with a pretty exciting episode. You're not going to want to miss it. So make sure you subscribe, leave a review, a thumbs up, you know, whatever, all that fun stuff. And we will see you next week with another episode. Bye.